So, all right, everybody, we are bringing the meeting, the October meeting of the Bicycle Council, October 2023 to order. John, can we confirm who we have present?
Yep, I will do a roll call. Obviously, when you hear your name, just say yay. Walt, Brian.
Did we see him?
His name was on there unless he's muted.
He's on mute.
I can't see it on our screens.
Let's see. Jay Burns, he already indicated he will not be attending. Matt Cochran.
Walt is muted.
Walt is muted, is what we're being told.
We'll see if we unmute him.
Tom Hartley.
Yay.
Scott Hoffman.
Here.
Mike Crumrine.
Here.
Wendy Pelasco.
I'm here.
All right. Michael Wagner. James Wilson.
Aye.
Fran will not be here. Jackie McDermott.
Here.
And then Marty Lessner.
Here.
And Michael Tyler.
Here.
So even though we see Walt's here, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So meeting does need quorum.
Okay, and we've got people from the public. We have public persons that want to participate tonight.
We have
Stop taking your generic.
we have
I'm gonna
members
put
from
you on a little not so secret. Most
Walt's still under panelists. That's why we couldn't hear him. Sorry.
Let me remove him to panelists?
Yes, please.
Okay, he's moved.
Okay.
So I'll go back to here. Here he is.
Okay. Walt, can you hear us? Shows you're muted. But we do have attendees. We have 5 attendees, Scott, sorry.
So I just want, to the chairman, I just wanted to note that I'm going to have to leave this meeting at about 6:30 or so. So if we have business that requires a quorum, well, we have a quorum. We can't break a quorum by me leaving. But now that we have a quorum, if there's business that needs to be voted on,
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Marty, there is one item that requires a vote, that's the budget. So that is we can move that to the top of new business so that we can make sure that you're able to be here and vote for that.
So we do have a good phone number for Walt, and Walt can hear us. So I don't know if he counts, doesn't count, kind of sort of counts. But I guess if we wanted him to vote on something, we could always call it.
Okay.
His vote is.
All right. Well, let's get moving so that we can try to do something. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is minutes review from the June 7th, 2023 meeting. Assuming everybody's had a chance to review the meeting minutes. Do we want to take any action on these minutes? There was no minutes prepared for the last meeting because it officially was no quorum. We'll address that under new business.
Move to accept, are we accepting the meeting's minutes from
June
before, from June?
Right.
Okay, move to accept.
So we have a motion to accept the June 7th minutes. Is there a second?
Mike Tyler, I'll second.
Second.
I think I heard Mike Tyler go first, so.
So we have Tom Hartley made a motion, Mike seconded it. Minutes, we're moving on. Next item is the public comment.
Wait, did we approve the minutes?
We did, yes.
Okay. I didn't hear a vote.
There was no objection.
There was not yet. Sorry, Marty. I did a little mind reading there. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I heard the motion, I heard the seconding of the motion, but I didn't hear the vote to approve the motion.
We're only doing roll call votes for now.
No, I'm not doing roll call.
Okay, so we're moving on to public
Yeah.
comment.
You
Was there any
can ask if there's any objection, otherwise.
Anybody has any objection?
Does anybody have any objections to us approving the minutes? Thank you. We're officially moving on to the next item now. Public comment. And we have 5 possible persons.
So we'll bring them in one at a time to introduce themselves. Okay. And then ask them if they have anything to say under public comment. So under attendees, we'll bring in JT.
Bill has a question.
Alright, well, we'll bring in JT first. And
He's
then,
muted. Can I ask to unmute him?
No comment.
Oh, okay, no comment. Thanks, JT. Next is Bill Weller. Bill, can you hear us? Hold on, take a little time out. Yeah, he's not.
His hands is still up, but he's not even answering him.
But he can hear us and he can talk. He is allowed to talk, okay?
Yeah. Bill?
There we go. I got it now. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask if you will be discussing the letter that was approved for the Bike Council to send to DelDOT in support of the project on Route 1 in the Lewis Rehoboth area, Route 1 Kings Highway intersection, and moving that to a higher priority and accomplishing it sooner than currently planned. That letter I hadn't seen in the minutes yet.
So Bill, we have a draft of the letter available. Our plan is to send it to you so that the Sussex cyclists can review the letter and hopefully it addresses your guys' concerns. And then once we get some feedback from you, we'll go ahead and submit it. It's all done, so I will send it to you tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
You said you had 2 items?
No,
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I thought he said 2. Okay. Okay. Then next is Karen. KZ. Karen, can you hear us?
Can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me? I just have one question today, and that is if there's plans to replace the Hawk crossover on Route 1 in Rehoboth, being as they're getting rid of it and putting a light there. Are you going to put another Hawk somewhere else? Do you know?
Well, I could try to answer the question. I mean, this is a I believe that improvement's being done by a developer. So I'm gonna have to put Wendy Palasko on the spot to possibly help me or answer the question. Based on what I know, the developer is making improvements there in which they are removing the halt signal and putting in a 4-way signalized intersection with pedestrian crossings. To my knowledge, that halt signal is not being placed anywhere else on Route 1. Wendy, do you have anything to add, or am I way off, or?
Nope, you're correct. The developer is the one putting in the 4-way signalized intersection that will have pedestrian crossings, but there was no plan to move that Hawk signal to another location. Just replace it with a full signal.
Does that mean that we can put those parts on the POW highway? Does that mean we can put the parts on the POW highway that are missing? That was actually a serious one.
That's an agenda item.
I know it's an agenda item, but
Karen, did that answer your question? I'm sorry.
You're pulling, James.
It did. I just wanted to make sure there was still a safe place to cross with traffic that's only going one direction at a time, and that's my concern. That's what I was looking for. So thank you very much. And I do have one other quick question that may or may not apply to this group. Will you address the accident that occurred in Dewey over the weekend? I know it wasn't a bicycle accident, but it was an accident, and it was in the town of Dewey. And I think that this would be covered, under, the scope of the projects that you have going on. Will that be covered by another group or this group? Because at one point I thought this group was bicycles, then it went bicycles, pedestrian. Now there was supposed to be split up 2 different groups. Does anybody know?
Well, I know they're trying to bring back the pedestrian council. I don't have any information on that at this time. I can give you the contact person that you can reach out to concerning, when they plan on bringing back that council.
Okay.
And I would assume something like that could also be addressed with the pedestrian council as well. I do not know much about that accident and it was Dewey, right? Correct? I'm sorry.
Yes, between Rodney and Dickinson on
Yeah.
Highway 1 on Saturday. Yeah.
In fact, I know the person who was involved in that. So, everything I've been told is he's improving and getting better. But I don't know the entire details of what happened other than what I read on the internet. So, I don't think at this time the council was going to talk about that, but
Yes. And I know that, like I said, I know that this is bicyclists, but I know that you reinvented a couple different times over the years. And my concern is I just wanted to make sure that this particular area, that lower part, that southern part of the Route 1 area, that there's a lot of attention on Route 1, still gets the attention that it should. And when they talk about that bridge, which I think was part of the plan that was 5 Points and Lewis, that you still are considering a bridge, but maybe a bridge that would be closer to the southern portion of that in that particular area of Route 1.
okay.
That's all. That's why I brought it up. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then next is Paul Moser. He's with Delta Planning. Paul, did you have anything?
Nope, just here to listen.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
And last is Samantha Kowaleski. I believe she attended the last meeting as well. Samantha, did you have anything for public comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to call something to the council's attention that might be something we can do. The DelDOT website lacks a clear description of or access to relevant information regarding the actual bicycle and pedestrian aspects of road projects. So a road project may be detailed in there, and you crawl all over the site, and there's way more detail about the temporary detour than the actual permanent design changes to the road. And I think that that's an easy win, that we could make that a little bit more readily available for people to see. So something like, well, if there's a bike path, how wide is it going to be? What is its connectivity? And for citizens nearby to be able to evaluate if that actually meets their needs. So it would just be a really great way to add some error proofing into these large projects that are very expensive. And if we put on the website in a way that's a little bit easier to see, where everything intersects, that would be great.
Okay. I will have to discuss this with Pam and see what can be done. So, all right, thank you. And Pam Steinbach, who's our director? I'm sorry, I want to clarify that. And I believe that's all for attendees.
Okay. Thanks, everybody everybody who provided, comments. We like to hear everybody's input, and it helps, us progress our agenda. Next we're moving on to new business, and, we're going to, well, let's see, we got plenty.
Scott? Hey, Scott.
Yep,
I had a few slides to share, and it
oh,
didn't,
that's right.
didn't make it on the agenda.
James wants to do something under public comment. Sorry about that, James.
So let's see if I can share these slides. Folks, see what is on my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we see it.
So I want to bring this. This is a report that just came out from a company called Streetlight Data. They are, I guess you call them like a cell phone data aggregator company. They get apparently 40 billion anonymized location records from cell phones each month in the US, and they use it to put out reports like the one you see on your screen. They're able to apparently distinguish between people who've got a cell phone and are driving around in a car, and people who have a cell phone and are biking around on a bike. And they're able to look at this data that they're seeing, and in particular, this one is about changes over time. And they reported on changes in data between, I want to say, 2018 and 2020, and then also between 2020 and 2022. And as you can see, Delaware is right up there at the top, number one in the 2020 data, and number 3 in the 2022 data. And that dark blue color corresponds with an over 50% increase in bicycle trips that their cell phone data is telling them has been happening in Delaware. And of course, this is on its own, but this is a bit of a black box, right? We don't know anything about how they do this. We sort of have to take their word for it. But I find it very interesting that if you go then and look at Census Bureau survey data, where they ask people how do you bike to work between 2019 and 2022, so that same period of time, Delaware in the Census Bureau data has the number 2 largest increase among any state. So we're coming up at the top in the cell phone data, and we're coming up at the top in the Census Bureau survey data. That's all I got.
And the census data, James, that's specific to biking and work, you're saying?
I think that's the question. How do you get to work primarily?
Oh, cool.
The only state that did better than us in the last 3 years is Rhode Island. We're number 2, and then in the cell phone data, we're number 1 in 2020, and number 3 in 2022.
We're 1 and 2 in size too, Rhode Island and Delaware. Interesting. Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Proof that things are working. Okay, so now we're moving on to new business, and John, can we go ahead and move up review and vote on FY24 budget, so we make sure we get something in on that before Marty leaves. Can we bring up the PDF? Budgets. FY, yep. I can share it. All right. This one. As long as they can see it. Okay.
All right, so this is we briefly discussed this back at the August meeting. But this is the FY 24 Delaware Bicycle Council budget. It's still the same amount, $50,000. It's broken up into the 3 separate appropriations. 900 in travel, which goes towards if anybody should attend meetings in person, it goes for mileage reimbursements. 32,000 in contractual services, which includes the $30,000 for the bicycle innovation grant, and then a portion goes $700 towards Biking Blue Hens when they provide a bus shuttle service as part of the legislator bike ride, a return bus shuttle service. And then there's still $1,300 remaining under that contractual services for other services. And then the last one is $17,100 for supplies. And that typically includes the $7,000 for bicycle lights that are purchased that are either given away during the year or used as part of the Delaware bicycle program when we put them on our bikes for the J1 students. And like I said, also given out at community events throughout the year. And then the remaining is used to support the bicycle program, specifically at the bike garage Rehoboth, where we use the remaining funds under supplies to purchase parts and other supplies for the bike garage. This was the same budget as last year. So unless, you know, a council member, you know, maybe there's a trip or some type of event that they would like, excuse me, they would like to go to, where, you know, they want the council to pay for, you know, the trip and the registration, the hotel. I don't know if there's any type of event coming up within this fiscal year, or if the council just wants to keep it the same this year as it was last year. So
I have a question. When does this FY 2024
when does it
starts? When?
July 1st and ends the end of June the following year. June 30th.
So it starts next July, or it's already
started.
Oh, so we're in this now.
We're in it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why, you know, August, you know, that's why I was going over in August, but
oh, okay. So we're basically retroactively voting on our budget. Is that what we're doing here?
yes,
Okay. So if we decide to change it, or
we
we
can still,
we can?
Yeah.
The total amount, or just how it's distributed within the category?
right now, the 50 is set.
Okay,
Can't change that.
all right.
So you can, but if you wanted to, like I said, someone wanted to go on a seminar for biking, you know, you would have to adjust the numbers to make it work. But yes, you can definitely change those during the year. But this is just the basic.
Walt, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Where you down? Did you have a comment on the budget, Walt, or are you just checking your sound?
Okay, now we can't hear you, Walt.
And well, just for information, it sounded as though you had 2 microphones going or 2 speakers, because we were getting feedback when we did hear you.
John, what was the, so last year's budget, how did it work out compared to what it was planned to be?
I mean, we used there was only a little bit left. I can't remember the top of my head, but there was probably maybe a couple $100 left in supplies.
Okay, so we.
But, and then all of travel, because no one
Okay,
did any mileage reimbursement.
okay.
But contractual services and I'd say all but a couple $100 in supplies was used.
Yeah. And I remember we did do something with the contractual services with one of the grants. We moved some money around for that.
Correct.
Alright. Okay, so, does anybody have any thoughts on the budget?
I move to accept as presented.
Second.
We have a move and a second on the budget.
Sorry, who was the second?
The second
Wagner.
sounded like Mike Wagner.
Oh, Mike Wagner did, okay.
Mike Wagner's here now.
Mike Wagner's here, I can change that.
He snuck in on us.
The meeting link was not easily opened.
Yeah, seen a couple people like that, Mike.
We have some technical difficulties that we'll address before the next meeting.
Okay, so you have a first and you have a second. So
Is there any objections to approving the budget as displayed by John with some clerical fixes?
You should ask it in the affirmative. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
Right.
Okay. All in favor of voting for the budget as John has shown on the screen with a couple clerical fixes? On the bottom line, it says FY 2022 and blank parts and supplies needs a extra digit there.
Say yay.
they
All
are.
in favor,
Yay.
say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I didn't hear any nays.
Now ask for
Aye.
opposition.
Now you have to,
Anybody
Just-
opposed?
have to ask, you have to
Okay,
ask for
is
names.
there any opposition?
Say nay.
Say nay.
I have a quick question on that comment about FYI. Oh, I see it. Okay. This is the same that we received as a PDF. What's showing on the screen is the same thing we received as a PDF,
Yes.
right?
It's just it needs,
It's just the bottom, I didn't change it to a 4. I don't,
Yeah.
it's.
Got it. Okay.
Must have,
so we had a motion, a section, a
second,
second, ayes and no nays.
correct. Motion passed.
Motion passed.
Budget accepted. Thank you.
Okay, back to the normal order of business here under new business. So because we didn't have a quorum at the last meeting, we wanted to have a new business item so that if there was anything that was discussed in addition to the budget that the council members feel needs to be brought up again, we're opening up the floor to that topic. Going once. Going twice. The next item is related to the disabled rapid flashing beacon on the POWMIA Parkway. So I will give a summary of what I understand to be the situation. Chris is here. He brought this issue up to Chris Assay is here. He brought this up to the council. So there is a flashing beacon on the POWMIA Parkway that is currently not operational, and as we understand it, there was a bicycle accident, or not a bicycle, there was a car accident that occurred that damaged the signal system, and Deldon is currently looking at options to repair it, which I understand are improvements to the way it was originally set up. Is that an accurate summary of the
Yeah, I
current
would say
situation?
yes.
Do you guys know when, so Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
No,
Okay,
that's,
you're good?
that's the problem.
Okay.
It has been disabled for many, many months.
Okay. And do we have a timeline on the fix or?
I have, the last email I got was they were still doing, designing the upgrades. But I do not have a timeline when
Okay.
when it is to be done. I can, I would definitely reach out. I can reach back out to see, when they think they would be able to get out there,
Okay,
so.
and then we can pass that on. If you let me know, I'll pass it on to the council members and Chris and
Cause
Hopefully-
you know, under traffic design, I don't know how long it takes to do the design, to do the coordination.
What is the upgrade? Something to do with the electrical supply?
Electrical service that would reduce maintenance.
Okay,
So they want to do, if I can remember correctly, commercial electrical service that would potentially reduce the maintenance of the beacon.
yeah. So I noticed, so I looked at several of the beacons recently after we started discussing this. And what they do at a lot of the beacons is there is an electric meter and basically a switch. That beacon does not have that, so I don't know how they powered it, but I'm assuming that what they're gonna do is upgrade to that, which is a better way to power, so. We'll get you an answer as soon as we can, Chris.
Okay. Steal the other parts, Chris. Steal the other parts. Yeah.
Okay, next item is an update on the innovation grant.
So for this year's innovation grant, there was only one applicant. Did you bring up the Townsend grant application? This one? Yes. So anyway, when I seen there was only one applicant for the grant, that kind of shocked me. We never had a year where there was just only one municipality or entity or agency that submitted for the grant. Usually we get we've gotten in the past, 5, 7, I mean, it has fluctuated. So this year it was only one from the town of Townsend. Here, I'm going to be bringing, the application will be on your screen here in a second. What they're proposing is, now they submitted their application in which the total amount was for $147,000, which obviously goes above, well beyond, what the council has for their grant. However, in looking in more detail, they broke it up into two parts. They broke it up into the feasibility study, which is about $35,000, and then engineering, design, construction was about, it's a small print here, $112,000. So it is broken up into two sections, and it's for a bike path within the town of Townsend. And if you can scroll down to the next to last page, there's a map.
That map?
Yeah. So this screen here is showing you roughly the area that they're gonna be looking at. They've got some alternatives, different alignments. It's around Wiggins Mill Road within a development that is town maintained, and the open space is also maintained by the town. So should not be any issues regarding right away, since the town maintains all that area. This will come out of the feasibility study, but the only thing I can see off the top of my head just by looking at this aerial is, are there any wetland concerns that may need to be addressed? So anyway, they have these three alternatives that they would like to put in a bike path and interconnect to the development on the other side. And with that, I am in the process of scheduling the interview with the town of Townsend. Once I have that set, those members who are on the working group for the grant will meet with town, ask any questions, we'll do a field review. And then the working group will get together to see if this is a project that they want to support, and then it should be voted on. If they are in support of this project, then it would be made at the December meeting, a nomination to vote to award the grant to Townsend. So, but that's the latest I have is, still working on getting the interview scheduled. But we only, like I said, only had one application submitted this year.
Right. And so the working group met, just to add a couple things to what John said, we met.
Right.
We discussed the project and decided that the prudent thing to do was to follow the process that we've been using in the previous years, so to do the site visit, et cetera, that John mentioned. We only had 2 people at the working group, which was myself, Mike Crumrine, and of course, John was there. So if there's anyone else that's interested in going with us to the meeting, let us know so that we can include you in the doodle poll for the invitation. Just throwing that out there in case we have anybody and any other people that wanna, you don't even have to be part of the working group, but just basically come to the site and let's make a showing for the council. So I just want to throw that in there too.
Hey, Scott, can you describe where this is again? I'm kind of familiar with Townsend. Is north up on this drawing?
No, north is to the left side of the page.
Oh, okay.
So if this was turned counterclockwise 90 degrees,
So that's the railroad tracks.
that is that line that's kind of running through the left and right is the railroad tracks.
There you go. I'll have a great sense of direction because, man, when you flip me upside down on the map, I'm lost.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It's the red line that we're talking
yes,
about, right?
it's the red line. Red line is one of the alternatives, I think. So it's connecting those 2 subdivisions to the town park, a town park, which is in the yellow.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the railroad tracks is a barrier that this project is not gonna be able to deal with. And I'm not sure how you would actually do that. That's a difficult process.
We're not crossing tracks there though. The red line doesn't cross the track.
Right, the red line does not cross the tracks, but there's, that subdivision is kind of divided into 2 pieces by the railroad tracks. But to be honest with you, I grew up in Townsend and those 3 subdivisions, or the 2 subdivisions that are there, are probably bigger than the town population in the original town boundary easily. So
Sure.
it is gonna affect a lot of, it is gonna be beneficial to a large percentage of persons in Townsend.
City Hall's at the top center, right?
I don't know whether City Hall is anymore.
I think the city hall's not much there.
No.
It's just a house.
So we'll have more information at the October meeting or the December meeting, which will probably be a recommendation for this project unless we see any glaring weaknesses, red flags, et cetera on it.
3 options.
Plus, here's green here.
Yeah, but I don't
I
think
s-
that's not connecting anything.
Is green also an option?
Yes, there's a blue alignment, a green alignment, and a red alignment.
Oh, blue, hold it, we missed the blue.
Yeah,
Blue is right here. It's hidden. It's in the trees.
Yeah, one of the issues is wetlands. We know, we suspect that, or we know that.
Oh, yeah, you're for sure that the developer's gonna put the wooded areas near the wetlands, for sure. But there's nothing to say that, bike trail going through along a creek and what have you is not a nice thing to have.
Yep.
I think what we have to do, Scott, is figure out a way, and next year, I assume this year is closed as far as getting any applications. But, I mean, just like so many other things, if we want to do it, we can get somebody to promote it to some of these town people, and of the, whatever we got, 75? municipalities and things that we send the invitation out to.
Right.
You know, pick 10 or 15 and call, reach out, figure out who is who, and just say, we have this. And then quite frankly, point back to this year and say, we had one applicant. They qualified. It was a good application. We took them. If you would have been the one applicant, you'd get it. I mean, there's, to know that there's because especially a couple of these guys that have applied a couple times that have had halfway decent applications, they might just have given up.
Yeah.
The two biggest community organizations that I know about are DLLG, which is Delaware League of Local Governments, which is pretty well attended every month.
Right.
And that covers the entire state. Sussex County Association of Towns, SCAT, is only Sussex County towns, but it's also monthly. Neither one happened in the summertime. So this is one of the problems with the timing of everything. It's pretty easy to get on those agendas ahead of time, but the summertime is when the applications were asking for that. So that's part of the reason, like, it falls off the radar, I think.
Right.
It might be better if we had different timing on the applications. But I don't know if that's possible, John. I mean,
That's gonna be tough because the funds have to be allocated by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. So,
Why can't we ask for applications earlier?
well, that's what I meant earlier, yes, instead of waiting until.
And we can
August.
certainly publicize, and quite frankly, they're probably all used to this, is the fact that if we don't get funded, if we do this exercise before we're actually technically funded, we've been funded for a number of years, so we got a track record. And we tell them, if we don't get funded, you won't get your money, but we're going through the process. And, you know, I mean, we got a good track record, so.
Yeah, so I think that a key thing is if if you send the application and it's due months later, people are not gonna immediately get
Right.
into it unless they're already programmed to have a project.
Right.
So we need to lay out a better schedule and probably 3 hits or something like that to make. Otherwise, it's always like, we just start calling people in August, like August 1, we start calling people, and then
Yeah, it's too late.
it's worked out in the past, but this year, like, I don't know, there was, the way things lined up, the people that usually call people were not around, so it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But as James pointed out,
Can I ask a question about this project?
yes,
I'm trying to look at what was put on the screen here and line it up with on Google Maps. So I had to rotate what we have here, but when it says trail alternative 1, 2 in different colors, which one are we? Which one are they doing?
I think the plan, Marty, is to look at the 3 alternatives as part of this study and decide which one they want to do.
I mean, these are short little things, and the trails that are in the park, they look like, I mean, doesn't the town just own these parks? They're looking for something to just put some pavement down? Is that what this is?
Well, they want to build a trail through that woods area somehow to connect those 2 subdivisions. And then by virtue of that connection, you'll get more accessibility via not getting in your car to the park area, which is in the yellow.
Okay, so the yellow,
The yellow is the park, it's already there. That was built as part of the project. But if I'm in that subdivision on Wiggins Mill Road, and my kids wanna go to the park, I have to go down Wiggins Mill Road, Railroad Avenue, Main Street, and come back up into that park area. And
Yes.
Wiggins Mill Road is not a road that you want your kids traveling on. I've been on the road many times. It's
Yeah.
no shoulders. It's an old road. It doesn't, like, it's not built to the modern standards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Is that the road that has some one-way bridges on it?
It has a little bridge down by the pond, which is,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's in this picture or not, but
And quite a lot of traffic.
yes, it's probably a thoroughfare to Middletown at this point.
Okay. And who's the land, all these trees here? Whose land is that?
I think it's open space that's owned by the town, right? Isn't that what they said?
And the connections into, okay, so it goes, the open space owned by the town, and it goes right into these suburban streets. It goes right into Edgar Road. And it goes right to the park.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That was my question. It looks, now that I look at it aligned with Google Maps, I can see what it's doing.
Any other questions or comments? So John, I think an action item is, I'll get up with you and we'll talk about the schedule and maybe how we can be proactive on some things. Because if we're gonna make a budget request like we've talked about, we don't wanna be saying we only have one. I don't think 1 year is gonna be the end of it.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe even as we're sending out something to advertise the thing for next year, is that we advertise, you know, what the project was this year, and maybe gets some people thinking, oh, I got a project that's at least that good. You know, get them as a little PR piece for us too.
Yeah, what medium is that gonna happen in now? That's my question.
Well, we could use the mailing list to those 150 people,
That's the budget. That seemed like
and we can certainly post it on our website.
35,000 is feasibility study and 112 is design. It's the actual construction.
I don't know how else we'd get it out though. Have like Delaware put it out too.
Social media things?
Yeah,
I don't know what those are, but I'm not a social media person. I am not either.
we had a couple people that helped us relatively inexpensively with the Amish tour. So we got, you know, 2,000 people this year. Actually, we had more than that signed up. So, I mean, we had some good outreach. There's people that, you know, it was actually closer to 2,500 that actually dished out money for it. So we reached them somehow. So
And does that cost, or is that free?
there's some cost, but it's not very much.
Like it would fit within our
Absolutely.
budget here that we've laid out?
Yeah,
Okay, so can I connect with you on that or vice versa?
absolutely. Yep. And hey, James, let's talk about that after the meeting if we could. Or when we get together next.
Okay.
So we'll make that an agenda item for next time, so we make sure some follow-up happens. Okay, that's all the new business. Before we do the old businesses, does anybody else have any new business agenda items for the next meeting that you wanna put on the table now so we can make sure they get into the agenda?
I have one, I'd like, and I don't know if John's gonna do this today as part of his updates on projects or whatever it was at the bottom of the agenda. But we got funded, of course, for the rest of the design, or actually the construction, right, for the going to Georgetown?
Construction, the $21 million.
Yes.
Freeze grant, yep.
And, you know, I know some other people were talking about it, but can we get considered as part of that 23 million, at least a concept for a future project to go under or over Route 9?
I'm not gonna answer that question, but I'm gonna give you my own personal opinion, no. Because that's not That's not a state project. We got,
Georgetown's not the state, that
no, that
Rail trail's
overpass is not a DelDOT project. It's not on any of our radars.
and all I'm saying is, can we look at the possibility?
That, my
Not
understanding,
actually.
Are you asking this to be an agenda item? Because that's.
Yes.
Okay.
well,
Yeah,
the short term of it is my understanding, and if Walt could talk, he might have more information on this. That's being handled by a private firm. This is not a state project. It's not under a state contract. So I would not be able to provide you any concepts of that.
no, I'm saying as far as the update on the rail trail.
I don't know. I guess I'm not understanding what you're saying. The update is we're not putting a bridge and
No,
we're tunnel.
rail trail.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Not
You keep talking about an
overpass,
overpass.
not underpass. But looking forward down the road, the possibility of what a future project would be, not this project, not the one for the $23 million, that we don't build ourselves into a box, paint ourselves into a corner and say, you know what, here's a possibility for a future job, for a future project where we could incorporate, because quite frankly, I was on the trail Sunday, there's a buttload of traffic, bicycle traffic. And these people are all gonna be going across Route 9. I think we ought to be looking forward at what the next project is.
I
Which
think the
would
council
be-
can do that, but
Yeah.
this will be an agenda item.
Yes.
From a DelDOT aspect, no, and I have to talk with Jeff Nisgoda. We are
Okay.
not touching anything of a bridge or tunnel as a future project.
Okay, well, quite frankly, that was the DelDOT position.
But
For
if you
the two-
and the council
the two
want to do
trails.
something,
So
maybe
is
so.
there, so you mentioned Walt. Is there a possibility that Walt could provide some additional information on whatever that thing is you're talking
He
about?
may have some information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he knows what's going on in Sussex County. So I'm sure he may have some information about that.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
Can I
Michael
just
has-
ask, who is the private, do we know who the private developer is that is addressing?
I do not know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Does
And
Walt
what's
know?
the exact location? Yeah, because I can talk to
I'm
Walt
talking about
that.
it
I'm in
tomorrow.
Sussex.
Okay.
We're talking about it at the next
We were
meeting.
just answering her question.
And Samantha was talking, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Could you repeat that again, Samantha?
I just wanted to know so I could just research myself if who the identity of the developer was. But that's fine. And then also just the specific location again, briefly, please.
My understanding that if there was to be a crossing, it would be near Cool Spring Road
Oh,
and
yep,
Route 9. Where the Hudson Field project
right.
is going or is going.
All right. Thank you so much. I have what I need.
Yeah, what's
I'd
your
just like
course?
to make a comment. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, Mike, we hear you.
Mike, go ahead.
Mike Tyler. Yeah, I think this is a serious safety concern, and I don't know why the DelDOT is backing away from it when DelDOT shared the development of the bike trail anyway.
We're not back. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I just think this is a serious safety concern because I ride that a lot, and I see people going across, and I hear people saying, "Oh, the idiot! He went right across on a crosswalk when I was coming in my car." I just think there's a lot of novice cyclists, and I've been on trails where they had built really nice bridges to cross creeks and railroad tracks and what have you. And I think this ought to be a prioritized element of the bike trail from Lewis to Georgetown. And I don't know where we need to go with it, but we need to raise a voice about it and say we're concerned because it's a safety issue. Enough said.
Yeah, so
It's an agenda item.
it's an agenda item,
I'm good with that.
and if
All right.
people wanna do things, come prepared to the meeting to say what it is that you wanna do. Let's not just turn this into a complaining about what's not happening type thing, so.
Right.
Okay,
Well, and this is out of success. It's success
Yes.
of the trail and the use that the trail's getting. So these are good problems to have.
yes,
It'd be a pisser if there was one person going up and down that trail every day and that was it.
Right.
And why would you build an overpass or an underpass for that one dude that rides it every day? There's hundreds,
Yes.
maybe
definitely.
thousands.
It would have been nice if a grant application was submitted to look at this as a project.
Good point, James.
I think that Walt did bring that up in the past a couple of times with Sussex County, but.
Okay, well, this might be the time.
All right, so we have several things that we can talk about with that issue. Was there any other, before John wraps up with his old business, any other things that people want to say they're getting on the agenda for next week, next month, next meeting? Sorry. And next meeting is our last meeting for this year, and we're supposed to have 5 meetings, so looking for good attendance.
I have a request. If the Bike Council could bring forward what the current DelDOT standards are for roundabouts, because the roundabouts, as I see being built in Sussex County, do not have good accommodations for biking, which just it really doesn't allow for a cohesive bike grid network across the state. So I'd love to know what those standards are. I know DelDOT's hands are tied based on the standards that are laid out. So if we could just take a look at that, it would be great.
So we've been in touch with DOTS for more than a year, maybe 2 years, discussing the design guidance memorandum on roundabouts. So that's DGM 1-26, probably Googleable. And our message there has been that it's critically important that new version of DGM 126 be flexible enough to permit roundabout designs that are bicycle friendly, that when you build this roundabout, they're actually not only making the intersection safer for everybody, but you're also improving the low stress bicycle network. So that could maybe be another agenda item. Samantha, I could not agree with you more strongly that as we look at the infrastructure challenges that we have, that better roundabout design should be at the very, very top of our to-do list.
Thanks for that information, James. I'll leave it to the council to decide if that needs to be an action item. Otherwise, I'll take it up in my own research. Thanks. But I will say that we have 2 gigantic roundabouts at 5 Points in Lewis, which really are going to either enable or completely disable those neighborhoods from using a multimodal transport approach to their lives and lifestyles, or forced car dependency.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, I think, gets increasingly that, well, a couple things. One is our fatal crashes are going up. We tied last year the highest number of fatal crashes in the history of Delaware. No year has had more fatal crashes than 2022 ever had, and we're pretty close to doing the same number here again in 2023. I think people increasingly understand that one of the most effective arrows in our quiver we have to start bringing those fatal crash numbers down is to I think we should sort of be flipping the default on its head. Right now we have there's a intersection with sufficient amount of traffic, and the default is just throw a signal up there. But we know that signalized and stop sign controlled intersections are, that's where that's literally the largest category of fatal crashes. What we really should be doing is flipping the default on the head. Those types of intersections the default should be a roundabout, and you should have to justify making the intersection signal or stop sign controlled. So I think people get that, this idea that intersections are key if we're gonna make big progress on fatal crashes, and roundabouts are perhaps our biggest single tool. There are a whole bunch of roundabouts in design by the department, but we do not yet have on the ground an example of a truly bicycle friendly roundabout. It's just a design. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of examples, you know, in other countries, but you know, it's just not something that anybody, you know, that we've done here. So we've got to bust through that and make sure that as we enter into this huge era of roundabout building, that these are multimodal roundabouts. And I'll just say one last thing. In the new infrastructure bill that was passed and signed last year by the president, there was new language in the Highway Safety Improvement Program. So this is the #1 traffic safety infrastructure program that's funded by the federal government, the #1 traffic safety infrastructure program funded by the federal government. And it has a big list of all the things that are eligible for traffic safety funds. And the #1 thing, the #1 type of infrastructure that is eligible for federal traffic safety infrastructure funding is, quote, a multimodal roundabout.
Okay, thanks for the comments. So we'll include on the agenda, I'll work with John to figure out who's gonna be presenting, et cetera, something on the Route 9 crossing for trail. It's probably gonna, at a minimum, be Walt, and we'll build an agenda item around roundabouts, multimodal roundabouts as well.
Yep.
And by the way, Scott, again, it's DGM 1-26 is the design guidance memo.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right, old business.
All right, don't think we've done this in a while, so try to do a quick update of bike projects. Recently, the Capital City Trail Phase 3 was completed here in Dover, which will be eventually part of the Capital City Trail Loop. So Phase 3 was completed. The final segments will be constructed under 2 DOTS projects that are currently in design, close to construction. That's the East Camden Bypass and the US 13 third lane. So combination of those 2 projects will complete the trail loop. But Phase 3 was completed back in the fall, late summer, early fall.
Now, one question. When it gets to 13, what's gonna happen? What is it connecting to?
That's when you have the East Camden Bypass project, which got the roundabout at 10, connecting to the third lane project, which has its own separate path. So that's what I mean, the 2.
Okay, so it's connecting to stuff that's not there yet.
Correct.
Which connects to
Gonna
other
hook
stuff.
into the POW Parkway.
And then,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, gotcha.
And then
Okay.
it'll connect to the POW MIA Parkway path, and then that'll complete.
Awesome.
All right, so continuing on, the double bridges project, scroll down, please.
Keep going.
Yep, right there, that's good. And we still, this project's been going on for quite some time. We were having some issues with trying to finalize the design, but this is still gonna be a 10-foot wide shared use path. We just had survey plans submitted in June, and we are working on those comments. Scroll down. And we're anticipating hopefully the approval by summer of 24 and getting the PS&E, the plan specification estimates ready for advertisement in October. And if everything goes right, construction sometime in 25. All right, scroll down. Next is the Augustine Cutoff bicycle improvements. Scroll down. This was this project was awarded a grant by the Delaware Bicycle Council. We held a public workshop in March, and we are still it's currently being reviewed, the feedback and the development of concept alternatives are still being done. And unless something's changed, we are anticipating construction hopefully in the fall of 24. Next one, please. This is the project that Scott and Bill were talking about at the beginning of the council meeting. Right now, it's doesn't have a contract number.
What
There was a-
project is this? I'm sorry, I can't read it.
This is the
Kings Highway.
Okay, sorry.
and so the project is still moving forward, but we're trying to find another program to possibly build this under. But Scott, like I said, you know, you and Bill are working on a letter to DelDOT to hopefully make that a priority. So, okay, next one, please. Yep, you just keep scrolling. This one is the US 9 Kings Highway to Dartmouth. And right now, they've held a workshop. I haven't received any other updates from DOTS at this time. So I don't have much to say on that one other than they held a workshop, and I would have to contact them to get more information. So I apologize. I do not have much information on that one. You scroll down. School Lane. Again, this is another project that was awarded a grant from the council. Keep on scrolling.
Smyrna, right?
This is in off of 273.
Okay.
Newcastle.
Around the William Penn High School. Go back just a little bit, I'm sorry. And the final plans were submitted in May. We're working on getting the project ready for advertisement, and construction's hopefully scheduled in spring of 24. All right. The next one is the Senator Bikeway Phase 3, Mifflin Road to Dover High. Okay, just keep scrolling down. And we had final plans submitted back in March and are currently addressing comments and working on getting the plans ready for advertisement. But no construction start date at this time.
Is there gonna be a public workshop for that?
We're at final plans, so
Okay.
do not think so. Yeah,
Are you thinking that that's like a next summer project?
possibly. I don't want to. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be before that.
Yeah. All right, scroll down, please. We have a project in the Smyrna area, Brentford Road, and where we're putting in a 10-foot wide shared use path. We just had this revised preliminary plans were submitted in September and are working through those comments. According to our schedule, we're anticipating having the PS&E ready in May, and then maybe depending on, you know, construction scheduling, maybe the fall to start construction, possibly.
John, what's the limits of that one? On
Oops, can you go back up? Can you go back? Here. You scroll to the, right there. Oh, yeah, right there. It's basically on the east side of 13 to, I don't know what that road is, just west of Route 1 in that area. There's a, terrible with the road names. I believe, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Wendy.
No, I just said, okay, now that I see the picture, I got a better idea where you're at.
Okay. All right, scroll down. Scroll back up just a little bit. Okay, this is the Cedar Neck Road pathway. We're looking at a proposed path along Cedar Neck Road in the Ocean View area. preliminary plans were submitted in May, and we are working on addressing those comments. And then, as you can see, hopefully to have projects ready for advertisement in March of next year. And we've already talked about this, the Georgetown Lewis Trail. Oh, you can scroll down, I'm sorry. Yep, yeah, keep on going. And we had the preliminary plans were submitted in last December. We had a workshop in June. But I don't know. According to the schedule, I don't think it's been revised, but we're trying to get PS&E in December, which we're hoping. I don't, we'll see. Let's see if that schedule remains or if it needs to be revised. You can scroll down.
Where does it cross the road? What is that referring to?
What do you mean crossing the road, Mike? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it says where it crosses the road. Which road?
You scroll back up there.
Sand Hill Road or?
Oh, road intersection improvements where it crosses the road.
Yeah, like there are some local roads that it crosses, so they're gonna have to do some improvements there. What those improvements are, maybe it could be additional signage and striping. It could be a little bit of widening to put in some type of island to make it safer to cross. So that's what those intersection improvements mean. I'm sorry.
John, am I understanding what I'm looking at? You're hoping for the Lewis to Georgetown Trail to be complete from end to end next year?
I don't know about that. So that's an older schedule. So I want to make sure if that's still correct or not. So
Maybe that ought to be an element we discussed.
I'm sorry, Mike.
So maybe that ought to be an element we discussed too when we talk about crossing Route 9, because they're all safety aspects of crossing roads and where they got to cross.
Right.
All right. We
John,
can talk about that next meeting.
remind me again, PS&E, is that plan, spec, and engineering?
Estimate.
Estimate, plan, spec, and estimate.
Engineering usually comes before plans.
Well, that's what I would have thought, but I couldn't.
I would have thought you knew.
I couldn't get estimate. I'm sorry. And so John, that's before it goes out to bid, right?
Correct.
And so if it's going out to bid, the bid process takes every bit of 6 months.
Yeah.
And that construction would probably take
a couple years,
18 months at least. So it's probably gonna be, the end of next year before it really hits the road. So the earliest would be mid-26 sometime, right?
Could be 26,
Yeah, in that
26,
ballpark,
and maybe even
okay.
into 27. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. West Street Parkway Extension. We had a public workshop. This one is not updated. We did have a public workshop back in June, and we just received preliminary plans this month. So I will update that for the schedule for next time. So, all right, this is the next one. That was it. Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other questions for John on the updates?
Did you guys all see the pictures or video of the new trail off the Markel Trail headed over to Corporate Commons, one of the biggest employment centers in the state?
No.
So
Where
this
was
not-
that, John? Or
like phase one of the Corporate Commons Trail. It's a connector for the Markel Trail going west over to Corporate Commons. All the back offices for the banks and the hospital and Wilmington University Graduate Campus and Newcastle County. Marty was there at the.
Oh,
ribbon
there's some
cutting.
excellent footage of James giving an interview there.
So that was.
Did anybody else get the interview or was it just James?
Yeah, I knew the reporter from my days back in Claymont, so I got a couple of words in there too. But James is the closer.
I have a 20-second video if you'd like to see it.
Yeah.
20. You cut me?
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
That was the Markel Trail Tunnel under 295 to the right, and this is the new trail built by Newcastle County. Not unusually, this is the first Newcastle County trail that Newcastle County's built since phase 2 of the Markel Trail in like 2014 or 2015. So they went through a long drought of 7 years or more, not building anything, and this is the first one in 7 or 8 years.
James, how wide is that?
I think it's standard 10 feet trail. The project manager was actually an ex-DelDOT, planning section guy.
Cool.
So I think it's all built, to DelDOT standards.
So that goes to Corporate Commons?
So right now it just goes to the Creekwood office complex where the Social Security Administration building and the News Journal is. But the plan is to push it, have like a formalized trail all the way to 141, and then there's already a piece in front of the News Journal building, and then you go over across Basin Road to all those jobs over there in Corporate Commons, like 5,000 to 10,000. It's a huge employment center in Newcastle County, one of the biggest in the state.
So that links the whole Newcastle area over there to all that. Wow. Okay.
Hooks them all into the Markel Trail, and then go to north of Wilmington or south of Newcastle.
Cool.
Okay, that concludes our agenda.
Need a motion?
Need a motion to adjourn.
Can't do it without Walt,
Why is that?
because Walt always makes the motion.
Oh.
Jeez Louise. how
Motion
you-
to adjourn.
Wagner,
Second that.
and that was Crumrine.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to adjourning, say nay.
Too late.
No nays. Thanks, everybody.
Down now.
Thank you.